Hey, so I'm baking a cake. There's 25 minutes left, and as I'm waiting, gonna record this video. First things first. It doesn't have to do with anything, but like I've decided that I will be focusing a lot on my makeup because the old makeup, because I was looking at some pictures from like 2021. Some of the makeup I'm wearing like it is from back then, so it's kind of expired. But I don't want to just throw it away, and it's also no like foundation or anything. It's just like my eyeliner, so I will be focusing more on it so that I can get I can finish it. And same thing with like my eyebrows and like my eyelashes, whatever. So I'll be focusing more on the stuff that like is already technically expired. But apart from that, today was a good day. I was able to end up going out. I had a delivery to make. I sold a boot. I bought a lot of things on sale lately, and like this was one of the things that got some traction. But basically, I kind of want to get rid of some things, and because there's some stuff, for example, some of my boots that I haven't worn in a while, and I don't think I'm gonna wear them anymore. I think I'm using other shoes because boots, they're kind of hot, and I'm really sensitive to the weather. So things that make me feeling even more hot than like they are not like what I want. So there's that. And I'm happy also with the things that I put up for sale because I think it shows a lot of like growth maturity from for me. And also like I think that everything I'm putting up for sale, like I got a good use out of it, which is I think ultimately what you want when you buy clothes. You want to use them. And but I'm at a different moment, different period of my life, so I'm not going to be wearing those anymore. So I'm hoping that like that too gets a lot of traction, because I don't know, like I think that is like it's really good. I'm kind of putting stuff out there for sale. But in terms of, so I think I mentioned I ended up going out this morning to kind of like deliver this this box with these boots that I sold, and I ended up going to some supermarkets, to the mall. I didn't spend any money, and I think that like that is a good way for me to kind of like go about my life, because if I have more like these days where I'm like where I'm just I'm not spending any money, I'm just going places. Like I think I need that, particularly because like I had a little machine that simulated steps and like it broke. I already got it second hand. It was kind of from like one of my mom's friends. She already bought another one, so she gave me that, and it stopped working. So we got like a new one, and we bought one, but and the sale ended up not going through. Like the sale went through, but like then whoever selling asked to not like deliver the product. So I got another one, but it's going to come around like the 26th of February, which is like a month from now. So I need to exercise more, outside of like my Zumba classes and my swimming lessons. So my swimming lessons, they're back next week. So that is that's exciting, because I really enjoy swimming. It's one of those things that really gets me to I don't know, like it really gets me to like I enjoy, like it is good for my health, for my physical health, for my mental health, and for my overall well-being. Like I really enjoy swimming. It's one of those things that I can just forget everything and have like a little moment as it's happening. So I'm really excited that it's coming back. But apart from like those two, like I want to be exercising more, and I think that the way to do it, because usually I have to kind of like walk from here to like the destination, which is usually 40 minutes, and then I end up like walking more the supermarkets and the mall, and I end up like doing some exercise, and that's really good. I mean, the only like downside is that basically like like usually when you go to the supermarket, there's always something that has to buy that is like the price is good. But I will say that today we ended up like not getting anything from the supermarket, although at the like place where we buy fruit and vegetables and all that, like I got some stuff. Like I tried to call my mom, she didn't answer, so I ended up making the executive decision to kind of like get some stuff, and apparently like it was not bad. But I got like a papaya, a really large papaya. I got some avocados, some corn on the cob, some lettuce, and some other greens. And ultimately, like we're gonna use it, so it's not really a waste of money. But it's one of those things that gets me thinking, like whenever I go out, like there's always something that you end up buying. But yeah, so that was kind of like my morning. Like right now, I'm thinking about, like writing on my free time that I have this afternoon. This morning as I was waiting for, because I had to deliver, the place I ended up to deliver the package opened at like 9 a.m. So I left at like 8:25. I ended up getting there, they were opening. I also had to kind of like, there's like this shoe, not a shoemaker, but like the shoe fixer. I don't know if that's a thing. Like, and I was going there, like he was opening the store for some of, pair of shoes for my mom. So actually everything was very, like, there's a lot of synchronicity, to the things I was doing. I was getting there and things were working out. And I was thinking about, I think I got a certain buzz as I was doing things. Like I was just very happy going about and checking things out. And that is good, like that's good that I found something so simple that can fill me with so much joy. That is, something that is hard to find, and like when you do find it, like you really want to grab it by the hand. But yeah, so apart from like this has been my day so far, this is going to be my day, from now on. But before that, I kind of wanted to, think about a little bit. Basically, I think I mentioned yesterday that like I'm doing this thing where I'm trying to accept some things, regarding some areas that before I wasn't really accepting it, and I think I'm making progress. But some of those things that like I think about in the past, and I'm like, I thought I had already overcome it. So like a part of me is like, okay, like, am I going to overcome it? Now, like, is that going to be it? And it doesn't feel like that's going to be the case, because there's been other moments in the past where like it didn't work out, where I did have some type of elucidation. I had like a little eureka moment, but it wasn't really like there's no follow, there's no like follow up. Like I just realized that this was me, that I was stuck in these ways, and but there was nothing, nothing, that no follow up, as I said. But yeah, but like that is still, something that I am, like thinking about, that I'm looking forward to. I have to accept my life as it is. And it's interesting because like this has to do with like so many small things, within my life. So I think like every area I have something that like I'm struggling with, in terms of acceptance, that I have to kind of like, accept in order for me to move on. So for example, an example, very simple example, but like I have part of me wants to be perceived as being a cool person, and that's not really me, that's not really being me, but that was something that like a part of like my brain really wants. And I think that I end up compromising, the integrity of, some things in my life, to kind of like perceive myself as being, like that person. And there's nothing wrong with that inherently, but it's just that and I don't want to try to be somebody who I'm not. I want to be, I don't know exactly who I am. I think I mentioned this the other day. Like I'm still figuring out like what are the personality traits that I have that really, make me, that I identify with. And there's some that they are, true. They're kind of like the case, but then there are some that they're not really. They're not really me. I want that to be the case, but that isn't the case right now. So there is that that disconnect. But yeah, so that is one of the things. I want to be cool. I want to be funny, and there's nothing wrong with like those things. There's nothing wrong with me wanting to be those things, but that's not really where I am at right now. Like that is not really, like it's not really my reality. And if like that becomes who I am in the future, good. Like I hope that that's the case. But until then, I don't wanna crave that, because this is the type of thing that translates into my fantasies, and suddenly I'm doing things to justify that being the case, and I don't want that anymore. I want to just live a good life, a good peaceful life that yeah, I think I want peace, basically. I think that's ultimately what I want. Everything that I end up consuming, every article, every the news, and all of that, like that, they all are trying to take away my peace. And what I want right now is to kind of like maintain that. So basically, what I have to do is process those things. Just kind of like they enter one ear and then they leave through the other. Not necessarily like I'm kind of like I'm still going to be interacting with like those news, but I can't be focusing too much on that, because that is not the way to go. Like that just leads to me being frustrated, and as I said, takes away my peace. So, like I think that what I want first and foremost right now is to protect my peace. I want to, like I want those things to not really impact how I see the world. And honestly, I'm grateful for the experiences that I do have, because sometimes like you live up for like those experiences, even if like they turn out not to be as good and as nice as you kind of like envisioned. Like it's still good to have those moments where you look at the things you're doing and you feel like, okay, I'm grateful because like I am working on myself. I have like these things, they don't bother me so much anymore, so I can kind of like keep going without the weight of like of things. But yeah, so as I said, like acceptance, that is kind of like the way to go. I need to accept myself so I can have peace. So but it's going to be a bit of a long journey, because as I said, like there's certain aspects of my life where I still want to be something. I think I talked about it, like social aspect, the sexual aspect. Like there's still things that I want to be perceived as, and when I'm not, it destabilizes me a little bit. So I have to kind of like accept, as I said, who I am, and accept that like some things I haven't really tried. Like I kind of like lie to myself sometimes, when I kind of like make myself believe that I have had some experiences, but I have not. So because I haven't had those experiences, I don't really know like what my response to those things would be. But and just once again, nothing wrong with not knowing the answer, but you can't really, as I said, like because there's no answer. Like there's this urge to kind of like rationalize things. Like for me to really, yeah, like this urge to kind of like create these scenarios in my head, and the scenarios sometimes they ended up divulging into fantasies, and that's not good, because usually if I get to that point, there is like a lot of like I mean, there should be backlash from other parts of my brain, but there usually isn't, and it's all because I'm kind of like really indulging in certain fantasies. I'm really kind of like stuck on certain ways, but yeah, like but for the most part, I think that I'm doing really well when it comes to processing things. Like I think that I'm not really stuck. Like yeah, like even if I haven't grown already, I think that everything like it is kind of like forwarded. Like I am, like going to get to that point where I no longer have to lie to myself to feel better about my choices, about my lot in life, and all that. Because ultimately, like there is an aspect of it which is like you are kind of in charge of it. There are many things that you can change about yourself and about your circumstances, but there are things that you can like there are things you can change, and you have to kind of like keep those in mind. And I'm thinking more about them, like these things that I can change. I don't know what I'm gonna do college wise, if I'm going to go to the new course, if I'm gonna continue with my old one, but it's not really something that I think, like regardless of what I choose, I have to have this mindset that like I am choosing this, I'm making this choice, to pursue this path, and this is something that is within my control, so that's pretty good, because there's so many things that are not. So it's good to find something that you can kind of, you can do something about. And I think that maybe this is something I have to apply, to the rest of my life, because there are things, as I said, I cannot really control, but there are a bunch of things that I can. And I think that I have been kind of like ignoring certain things. Like I've been, yeah, like I've been kind of like addressing some things by kind of like not really making a choice and just letting things go. And sometimes you have to just go with the flow, so like there's that. But sometimes like there's more than you can do, and that is like, and you should kind of like take that into account. But yeah, but life is good, like regardless of everything. I already sent like an audio to my psychiatrist, because I've been kind of like, the idea is for me to send her like with some update like once a week. And basically what I said is that everything is good. Like I had a couple of moments where I had some like thoughts of death, but they were very they were very very rare, and also they were not going like all the way. They were kind of passive, in a way. They were not really actively, I'm not actively trying to do anything to end my life. So that is, that's good, that's process, that's progress. And I think I'm learning new things about myself, which is kind of interesting because I really thought that, because maybe I'm not really learning new things, it's just that I am kind of like acknowledging new things, because I think that some of the stuff, like it's always been the case, it's always been there, I just didn't kind of like engage with it fully. So for example, let me think of an example. I think I mentioned, like the perception that I'm lazy, it is something in my psyche that I have to address, because for the longest time, like, I really believed that that was the case. I have since learned that, it's probably a mix of my ADHD with maybe bipolar and trauma, and like those three, like, they kind of like lead to a, to certain behaviors. And if you don't really know that, you kind of like end up thinking less of yourself. So yeah, so I think that, like, the whole thing of like me being lazy, like, that is, one that I've been really tackling, like, one-on-one, just really kind of like seeing. And I think that by facing it, I'm making better choices, but also I kind of like reconsidering certain things, like, I'm really looking at that and being like, okay, that would be a path of laziness, or maybe not laziness, but of, me kind of like overindulging in my ADHD, and I'm kind of like making better choices. So, if I see that this is the path, I'm going the other way. So yeah, so I think that I'm kind of like embracing activity. I'm being more active, more proactive, more, decisive about my life and about the things that are happening, and that in itself is, great progress. I mean, naturally, I'm comparing to like back 2016, 2017, so it's like a decade ago. So maybe, when I compare that, I feel like, okay, I made progress, but not as much as I wanted. But that is not a helpful mindset you have. Like, that is not, because, like, that doesn't change what's going on. So basically, what I think is that I have to, see where I was at and see where I am at right now. And, if there's still room for more improvement, like, I do that. But if I haven't really had that type of improvement, like, I have to kind of like take a step back and no longer be kind of like a slave to productivity, since I mentioned this before. And I think that I said, like, I'm making a lot of progress. I'm looking at myself and I'm kind of like acknowledging, both the positive and the negative, like, so, because sometimes, like, you look at yourself and you only see negative things. And when I'm manic, I think I only see positive things, but that is usually like it's a minority of the time that I kind of like exist. But basically, what I have to do is that for me to have like a balanced view of myself and of the world, I have to kind of acknowledge everything, but also contextualize those things. I have to look at what is happening and be like, okay, so I had this was my performance this day. What else was happening? Like, what led, to me being kind of, stuck here, or what led to, like, what could I have done differently? So I think that is, very important. That is very relevant for me to consider, like, the whole what would I have done differently. And I think that I'm at a point where I'm not, looking for this, unhealthy productivity. So I can really look at things and have, a good grasp of them and of what I need to do in the future. So yeah, that's kind of like been me. I've been thinking, as I said, a lot about accepting myself. And as I said, some things are easier said than done. So there are some areas that, like, I don't really know how I'm going to learn to accept things, because I tried everything. I tried like every, like, I've dealt my every card, and I haven't really gotten to the place that I wanted to. So yeah, that's that. Like, I don't really know. But at the same time, like, there is a willingness, to change, to do better. And I think I can rely on it to kind of like figure it out at some point. Maybe I won't figure it out like right away. And I don't have to. I think that, you're just trying every day, you're getting to a certain point every day is good enough. Yeah, basically, like, that is one of those things. Yeah, I'm for some whatever reason, I'm thinking right now of a situation back in 2019. It was a startup. It was called Startup Weekend. And it is like this: you create, like, on paper, a startup to solve some problem, and it's kind of like a competition, and we won. So that was pretty good. But it's one of those things that, what have I done since then regarding this? Because I also participated in one back when I was in high school. But it is, interesting for me to think in terms of, like, okay, what have I done since? Because I haven't really participated in more of like these events, and maybe I should have. It would have kept me, sharper. But I don't know. It's not really. Um, it just doesn't really feel with the mold. So like, but yeah, but it is good for me to look at it because also like I was kind of manic during like that event, so it was mostly on my fellow competitors, because you divide yourself in groups. So I don't know what lessons I can get from like that experience, other than things are always going to turn out okay, even if you are manic or whatever. But yeah, so because the thing is that I want, even if I have an episode, depressive of manic, I want to kind of like have a level of stability that prevents me from kind of like spiraling, when those things, inevitably happen. And I think that, like I've had some success up to now, but like there's still like a long way to go. I don't know what would happen right now. So I mean, I did have like I was getting into like a little bit of a manic episode recently, a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't really able to produce as much as I wanted. And I wasn't really able to do things, but I was able to convert my energy into kind of like cleaning things and tidying things up. The problem is there's only like so many things that you can tidy up, so I did get to a point where like I had all this energy and I couldn't really concentrate, I couldn't really focus or direct it, in any direction. So there's that. But yeah, but like, well, what can I say? Life is good. Like even if it is not this ideal that I had envisioned when I was a kid, but that is something in itself that I think like how far can I go? Like it's been like enough time that I can discard that, because I feel sometimes like the need to kind of like add a disclaimer, to like, okay, this is good compared to like back then, not back then, but like what I thought my life would be back then. And it's, as I said, like it's one of those things that I'm like, is this really the right way? Is this the right move? Do I have to add these disclaimers? Because I think there's been enough distance from that period of time, and like where I am at right now, that I can just embrace where I am at, as being something good without the weight of what could have been. And life is usually like this, like every day is a new battle. And some days I conquer things like no one else, and some days like I struggle, and there's nothing wrong with that. You have to just accept. I think accepting that that's the reality is the first step, and then from there you can kind of come up with like anything you want. And like, because technically anything is possible, that's not really true in practice, but like I think that could be like a happy mindset to have, that like whatever you want, like you can do it. Maybe you don't know how you're gonna get to the point right now, but you are going to get it. Like you're going to have ideas. I think this is something interesting for me to keep in mind, because there are certain things that I want that they are somewhat doable. For example, like I would like one day to go to one of my favorite restaurants and spend like the whole day there. Like they open at 11:30, so I would like to, for example, have lunch there, and then have some drinks, have like my snack, be something from them, and then have dinner there, spend the whole afternoon. And so it's something that's going to be expensive, but it's pretty doable. Like I can save money, I can try to make more money, regardless. Like it is something that is a fantasy that is doable. So I think I want to indulge more in those things that I can do. With tattoos too, like that is also like a doable thing. Like maybe I won't really be able to do things as quickly as I could, but like it's gonna take some time, but I can get there. So yeah, I think that's it. Bye.